Hello friends, welcome to a live lecture series on financial management. The topic of my today's discussion will be management of receivables, or you call it as receivable management, which is a component or a part of working capital management chapter. So in this particular chapter of receivable management, we shall be discussing how to manage with the receivable. What are the different functions which as a fund manager we have to perform for managing the receivables. The question comes, what is a receivable? Basically, the receivable is our debtors. Receivables comprises of debtors and BR both, that is bills receivable and debtors. So whatever sale which we are making in terms of credit, for that we have a complete set of managerial activity to be performed in order to decide the component and the composition and direction of financing this particular concept or component of working capital requirement, what you call as management of receivables. So in this chapter we shall first understand what exactly this receivable management is all about, and then we shall be evaluating the different credit policy in terms of numerical problems, in terms of with example of numerical questions. We shall understand how to give a decision, how to take a decision for change in credit policy and other components of our receivable management. So let's start with the basic understanding of what exactly is the management of receivables or receivable management is all about. When we talk of receivable, the moment this term comes, we have to understand that this trade credit arises when a firm is selling its products or services on credit and does not receive the cash immediately. Suppose if I, as a firm, I'm dealing with certain products, I'm selling goods to my customers, but it is being sold out on credit, which means I'm not receiving the cash instantly. It means my cash is my sale is in terms of credit, or it is going to be known as credit sale. So obviously the credit sale is going to result into receivables. So this is called trade credit. Now the question comes, why do we provide trade credit? That we'll discuss, that why do we provide trade credit to our customer. At times we are not willing to provide credit to our customers, but since it is an industry practice, we are bound to go for offering trade credit to our customers. And there are several other reasons also. At times we are willing to increase our sales, so for that also we rely on to this kind of policy where the customers like availing credit. So we have to understand that this trade credit is used by the firm to protect its sales from the competitors. My competitors are not providing credit to the customers, but suppose if I am providing credit to my customers in a more liberal manner, might be possible that my customers are getting attracted and they are actually having faith in us, they are posting their confidence into us and they may come to us. So in order to attract potential customers also to buy the products from us, we can provide credit to our customers. We can resort to the term called trade credit. So we cannot say that trade credit is something which is to be avoided as far as the industry practice is concerned. At times, cause of industry practice we are doing so, we are offering credit facility to our customers, and at times it is our own wish that in order to differentiate ourselves with that from our competitors, we are offering credit to our customers, so that my customer is finding the products at favorable terms and conditions. So that is a case which need to be kept in our mind. Whenever we are selling on credit, this trade credit is creating receivables, or you call them as book debts, which the firm is expected to collect in the near future. So trade credit, the moment you are creating, it becomes receivable or book debts, what you call them as debtors or receivables, and the firm is expected to collect this particular amount in near future as per the terms of credit. If you have a credit policy of 30 days, you may collect that amount from your customers in the time span of 30 days. If it is of 40 days, obviously the term will be of 40 days. So according to the terms of your credit or policy of your credit policy of which is being followed by your company, you will be receiving your money from the customers. The customers from whom book debts have to be collected in the future, they are known as trade debtors. So those customers from whom I have to collect my money from the customers, which is being locked cause of credit sale, they are known as trade debtors. So for them we are the creditors, and for us they are our debtors. So we have to understand the trade debtors are basically coming from where? They are coming from the credit sale. So they emanate from the credit sale. The moment you are going for selling on credit, what happens? It results into creation of trade debtors, or what you call them as receivables. The question comes, why do we create receivables? So at the very outset, I provided you sufficient hint that why do we create receivables. So receivables help the firm in increasing the sales level, as clients will prefer credit sales to cash sale. At times customers are giving preference to credit sales in relation to cash sale. So we are bound to provide offer credit to our customers, cause it is a choice of the customer. That is why we are offering, and once we are offering them credit sale facility, that is going to result into receivables. It also helps the firm in maintaining the sales at an appropriate level in situations where there is intense competition. At times the competition is very tough. So there, in order to maintain our sales, as compared to our competitors, in order to retain and regain the customers, what we do, we go for offering credit facility to our customers. So competition is also one of the reasons why do we offer receivables credit sale facility to our customers and creating receivables. And since the credit sale comprises a high profit margin, they generate more profit than cash sale. Always remember, if you are going to avail credit from your supplier, obviously the supplier is not going to give you sufficient amount of discount. At times we don't even ask, when we are buying on credit, we don't even ask that what is the price, because we understand the credit facility is there. Although there is a facility called 0% finance that we'll discuss in due course of our discussion, that what exactly the 0% finance is, and the way companies are providing you this kind of financing facility, that credit sale is without any interest charge. But as far as business is concerned, normal business house is concerned, we understand that credit sale comprise a high profit margin and they generate more profit than cash sale. The question comes, what is the objective of receivable management? What we do into the receivable management? What is the motive behind doing this particular exercise of managing receivables? On one hand we are creating receivables, and on the other hand we have to manage with them. So first, in your language, first we create a problem and then we try to solve that particular problem. My dear students, we are not creating problems. It is actually a problem which we can't avoid. So that is why we have to bear with it. So we'll try to find out what are the different ways to manage with this particular situation. The objective of receivable management is to help the firm to manage the receivables in an efficient manner, and that manner should be such that the benefits arising as a result of extending credit sales should be more than the cost associated with it. So we have to manage the receivable in such a manner that whatever benefit we are going to get out of this credit sale, that should always be greater than that of the cost which is involved into this particular process of creating receivables and managing with them. So once we have understood this is my objective, it means what we'll be doing, we'll have to first account for, we'll have to first count what are the different components of our this particular benefit. What benefit do I get out of my credit sale, and what is the cost which is involved into this particular process? Then only we can make a comparison between the cost and benefit. So we have to first understand that what is a benefit. Benefit is always in terms of increase in sales. Your sale is increasing, so your gross revenue, or you can say total revenue, increases because you are offering credit to your customers, and that will that benefit will reflect into the increase into your total profitability. The moment your sale increases, what will happen? Your profitability shall also increase in line with that particular increase into sales. So we have to understand that the benefit of credit sale will always be in terms of increase in sales and increase in profit. But when it comes to the cost of this particular offering credit, we have a list. The list is comprising of different types of costs which are actually arising only because of offering credit to your customers. So we need to first understand what can be those possible components of costs which may arise due to this particular receivable, and then how to do the calculation of that particular cost. That is more important. So we shall be understanding what are the different components of that particular cost of receivables one by one. That what is cost of receivable. The first very cost of receivable, cost involved into maintaining receivable is actually your financial cost. What is your financial cost? The cost which you are going to incur on account of making investment into receivables. Once I am selling on credit, my payment is deferred for a given period. So for that particular period, I need to make arrangement of fund. And the moment I am making arrangement of that fund, I need to shell out certain amount of interest, cause that capital is having some cost. So that cost of that particular, logged money or blocked money into receivable is known as financial cost, or we call it as cost of financing receivable. This is the first and foremost cost of our receivables. Once we are selling on credit, we are creating debtors, and once we have created debtors, we cannot, forego this particular cost of financing. We'll have to face it. Even if my own capital is blocked or logged, I have to understand my own capital has some opportunity cost, so I should account for that particular cost. So we have to understand that cost of receivable comprises of what? It comprises of cost of financing, it comprises of administrative cost, delinquency cost, and cost of default by the customers, which is known as bad debts. So once we have understood what is cost of financing, that is capital cost or cost of financing, it increases your basically your financial cost, your cost of capital. Cause increase in the level of accounts receivable, it implies an investment in current assets. And there is a time gap between the sale of goods on credit and payment by the customers. So cause of this particular time gap, your fund is going to be blocked into this particular money, and on that you have to shell out certain amount of interest. So that is called the financial cost. Remember, it is always there. The moment you are offering credit, financial cost is something which will always be present, cause you cannot deny to that particular cost, whether you pay it out of your pocket, or even if your money, if you are taking loan for financing this particular requirement, you have to pay interest for this. Even if your money is involved, there is some opportunity cost. The second important cost which is involved into this particular process is administrative cost. Once you are selling in cash, there is no record maintained. But the moment you are going to sell your goods on credit, you have to take all the credentials, you have to note down all the credentials of your customers, cause you are going to sell them on credit. So if your customer is willing to avail credit, you have to actually maintain the record of that particular customer, and that record maintenance is actually involving certain administrative cost, which is forming part of the cost of receivables, you can say, cost of providing credit, you can say. So administrative cost, these are basically the cost related to the maintenance of goods, maintenance of records related to receivables. The record is actually maintained at 3 levels. One is before sales. The moment customer is coming to us and willing to avail credit, what we do, we go for checking their CIBIL record. As far as Indian scenario is concerned, we go for having a track of CIBIL score, or at times if we are working as a traditional businessman, we talk to the other business people who are actually working into the same kind of market about the credentials of that particular person. Not only that, at times we go for asking for this particular letter of credit also, that your banker need to open a letter of credit to us so that we can rely upon you. So that particular data management, the collection of data, or you can say the evaluation of credit, that involves certain amount of cost which we are actually incurring just before offering credit. So in order to take our decision of offering credit to a customer, we are actually collecting some records, we are actually doing some kind of evaluation, that is called as credit granting decision, whether credit should be given to a customer or not to be given. That is before sale. So that is also part and parcel of your administrative cost, which is actually incurred well before the credit sale happens. After the sale is done, what happens? We maintain the record of credit sale and collection thereof. Once the sale is done, we have to maintain the record of that, how many customers have availed the credit, what is the amount involved into that, so that we can send them reminders, we can keep a track of it, whether the money is received or not. So that is what our administrative cost comprises of. The third one is collection cost, or we call it as delinquency cost. Collection cost, basically these are the costs that are incurred while collecting the receivable from the debtors. For example, you have to shell out certain money on account of cost of reminders, phone calls, postage, legal notices. Suppose if your customer is not paying on time, might be possible that normal notice or phone call doesn't work. So you'll have to resort to some legal remedies also, because you are selling on credit. So that legal notice is also involving certain amount of cost, which is going to be accounted for when we are going to evaluate whether the receivable management, whether the receivables which we have created, they are profitable or they are causing loss to us, so that we can change our decision of granting credit, whether credit period should be reduced or it should be increased. That is based on this particular kind of feedback. So we have to incur certain amount of money on this particular collection cost as well, which is also known as delinquency cost. And the last one is, suppose if my customer commits default, if my debtors turn bad, what will happen? The entire money which is being granted as credit to my customer, that is going to be written off as bad debts. So that cost of default should also be accounted for when we are comparing the benefit and cost of receivable. So this is another component of the cost of receivables as far as the cost and benefit analysis of receivables are concerned. The amount of bad debt basically is known as cost of default by the customer. So whatever bad debt we are incurring, that is actually the cost of default by the customers. Now once we have understood the benefit and cost of receivables, we can very well compare the cost and benefit of receivables in order to take a decision whether the credit policy should be the same what we are following or it should be changed. So depending on the scenario, we'll have to actually conduct a cost benefit analysis of receivables in order to make or take our decision. The question comes, what are the different aspects of receivable management apart from this cost benefit analysis? My dear students, receivable management can be analyzed with respect to 4 aspects. There are 4 aspects to this particular evaluation. The first one is credit policy, in which we basically decide that what should be the period of credit which we are supposed to offer to our customers, for how long the credit should be given to our customers, and that too we are evaluating in terms of quantified values. We conduct a cost benefit analysis to arrive at a decision that which policy is going to be the best policy. The second aspect of it is credit evaluation. We evaluate the credit. As I told you, before granting credit to your customers, you go for evaluation whether the customer is worthy of availing that credit or not. That also we do in order to ensure that the bad debt loss, or you can say the loss of default by customer, doesn't happen. To ensure that, we go for evaluating credit. And then we also will also discuss about the credit granting decision, the way it is granted to the customers, and once it is granted, how to monitor receivables. That is also a part and parcel of our receivable management. So these are the 4 basic aspects of our receivable management, and with this understanding of 4 aspects, let's start with the first aspect of it, that is credit policy evaluation. As I told you, what is the credit policy? The time period for which we are offering credit to our customers, that is going to be known as our credit policy. That suppose if as a company I am offering credit to my customers for a period of 30 days, it is going to be my credit policy, which means for 30 days there is no charge. My customer is having a time period for which the payment can be deferred. After 30 days, customers can make payment, and this is what we intend to provide in terms of credit facility. The question comes whether the credit policy should remain 30 days only or we should increase. If we are going to increase it, what should be the change? Which option, which day is going to give us the maximum benefit? That is what we do into the credit policy evaluation. Let's try to understand what we do into credit policy evaluation with a very small and interesting example of a numerical question. Suppose there is a company called LK Limited, and the management of it is considering to change its present credit policy. The company is already having a credit policy, and now it is planning to change its current credit policy. And the details of options are provided to you. They are giving you different options on which you have to think, and you have to give a decision that which option will be most suitable or profitable and why. Remember, once we are saying that this option is most profitable, we have to give a quantified logical answer to it, just like other decisions of financial management. The firm is telling you that the rate of investment is 20%, which means if your capital is being blocked into this particular credit, what will happen? The cost of this capital will be 20%. You have to assume that there are 360 days into this operating cycle. You have to advise which option is the best and why. And for this, they are giving you the information like this: the credit policy, present policy, and they have 3 other policies as an option which is available to them. Present policy of the company is telling you that this is my sales, variable cost, average collection period of 30 days. So with the average collection period of 30 days, which is my current credit policy, I am actually recording a sale of rupees 50,000. And the company is reporting, if we switch from present option of 30 days to 45 days, which is known as option A, I shall be recording a sales of rupees 56,000. If I further increase it by to 60 days, it becomes rupees 60,000, and if I increase it to 75 days, it becomes 62,000. This is what the company is reporting. Variable cost is reported to be 80% of sales, and the question is asking you which policy is better and why. As I told you, my dear students, at the very outset, that the benefit will only be in terms of increase in sales, and eventually it will actually increase our total profit or gross profit. So whatever benefit we are going to get out of this particular increase in credit policy is always in terms of increase in sales, and once the sale increases, obviously the profit is also going to increase, cause variable cost is constant, the rate of per unit it is constant, the rate is given 80% of sales, and fixed cost, here it is reported, the amount of fixed cost is also given in the question. So with this variable cost and fixed cost, we can very easily calculate, we can very easily evaluate all these policies. What we have to do, what is the modus operandi of this particular evaluation process? We have to first write all the figures of sales for different policies so that we can have a comparative look. The sales is written for all policies, present 30 days. If we follow, the sale is 50,000, second is 56,000, then 60,000, then 62,000. Variable cost we shall be computing as 80% of sales. Whatever value comes, we shall be writing. Fixed cost will remain fixed for all options, 6,000 rupees, it is reported in the question. The next step is, once the fixed cost and variable cost is mentioned there in the chart, what we have to do, we have to aggregate these two costs, and that becomes the total cost, which is for present option, present credit policy of 30 days, which comes to be rupees 46,000. For option A, when you are extending your credit period from 30 days to 45 days, it becomes rupees 50,800. For option B, it becomes rupees 54,000, and for option C, it increases to 55,600. And once this total cost is calculated, we can deduct it from sales to arrive at profit. And profit comes to be rupees 4,000, 5,200, 6,000 and 6,400. By simply looking at the profit, we feel that out of all options, option C is better because the profit is maximum here and sales is also maximum here. So by simply following this policy of credit for 75 days, we are not only achieving the objective of sales maximization, but also the profit maximization. Profit is maximized, sales is maximized. But here, if we rely on to this value, we'll actually be relying on to a half-baked story. It means we are going to rely on the basis of a half-baked story which is not complete. We have to actually now account for the different cost of receivables, which we have discussed just before, that there can be different cost of receivables, which are financial cost, cost of delinquency, managerial cost, administrative cost. If those costs are given, we have to consider them. Here in this question, there is no cost mentioned except one, that the rate of interest is given, that is 20%. So we'll have to first calculate the effective cost of receivables in each of the situations. In each of the policies, we'll have to calculate the effective cost of financing that particular receivable or debtors. And for that, we have to first calculate amount of receivable. But remember, my dear students, we have to calculate receivables at cost, because receivables are actually given in terms of the cost plus markup, that is the selling price. But since we have to make arrangement of fund and we have to calculate effective cost of that capital, so we should not consider the total amount of receivable, rather we should take receivables at cost. So that is why when we'll have to calculate the amount of receivables, while making use of formula, we'll make a slight change into the formula. Here the formula for receivables at cost will be the total cost into debt collection period divided by number of working days in a period. So what we do, we take total receivables at cost, we take receivables at cost, and here in this question, if we take the total amount of sales to be credit sales, we'll have to take the corresponding total cost, which in case of present option will be 46,000, and that will become 50,800 for option A. So what we have to do, we have to first calculate the receivables at cost for all options, and formula for it is very clear: total cost into DCP divided by number of working days in a period. We shall be taking total cost into debt collection period divided by number of working days in a period, which is given or reported in the question is 360, and in that way we'll be calculating the amount of receivables at cost. which comes for different options in a different manner, and for the last option it comes to be 11,667. For all these amount of debtors, like for first option it is 3833.33, 3833.33. What we'll do, we'll have to now calculate the cost of this receivables at cost. That what is my financial cost? Once we have calculated the amount of receivables, we have to simply multiply them with the financial cost, that is the rate of interest given in the question, which here is 20%. And once we multiply 3833.33, that is the receivables at cost, with 20%, we get the amount of financial cost, that is the interest, which becomes rupees 767 for present option, that is the policy of 30 days. And once if you extend your credit to 45 days, your financial cost becomes 1270, that is 1270. If it is further extended to 60 days, it becomes 1800. And for last option, which is actually giving the longest period for credit to our customers, that is 75 days, the interest is also the maximum, that is 2333. So in this way, once we have calculated the financial cost, what we'll do, we will have to deduct this financial cost from our profit, which we have earlier calculated by simply deducting total cost from sales to arrive at the effective net profit. So my dear students, whatever profit which we calculated by simply deducting sales minus different cost, that was actually only telling us what is my total profit without considering the cost which is arising due to receivables. So we'll have to account for the different components of cost which are arriving only because of receivables, only because of extending credit to our customers. And here in this question, the first very cost or the only cost which is mentioned here is the financial cost. So we'll have to first calculate receivables at cost, which I have just told you how to calculate, and on those receivables we have to charge interest. The rate of interest is 20%. We have calculated. Now this interest need to be deducted from the profit in order to arrive at effective net profit. And once it is deducted, for the first option, the present option, the net profit becomes 3333, which was earlier 4000 rupees. For option A, that is for 45 days, the profit which was 5200 is now 3930. For option B, the profit which was 6000, it has now become 4200. And for last option, the profit which was 6400, the net profit becomes rupees 4067. So my dear students, you can very easily have a look at this particular statement, that if we don't consider the financial cost, the option C or the policy C of credit should have been considered. Whereas if we look at the reality, what is happening, the maximum profit is not in option C, that is of 75 days. The maximum profit is in case of option B, which is offering 60 days credit, and there the profit is 4200. So if we look at the comparative figures of profit, what happens? The profit in case of option B is the highest. This is what we have to understand, my dear students. While evaluating the credit policy, we'll have to consider the different costs which are coming in front of us only because of extending credit to our customers. So it might be possible that in case of a company, you are given with different credit policies, there is an offer to change. We'll have to evaluate those options to arrive at the best option, which is ensuring us the maximum profit. In this very example, only one cost was given in order to make you easily understand. We can have other components of cost also, like the question could have given you the amount of bad debts, which was also supposed to be deducted. The question could have given you the amount of administrative cost, which if it would have been there, we could have deducted it from the profit in order to arrive at the net effective profit. So in this way, whenever we have to make a decision for extending the credit period, this is the way we deal with the problem. And I hope you must have understood the way we have to evaluate different credit policies, by comparing their cost and benefit, and we have to select what is the guiding principle. The guiding principle is we have to select that option which is giving us the maximum profit. I hope you must have understood and enjoyed today's lecture. Thank you so much.